I invite you to set aside every excuse you've ever whispered to yourself. Imagine standing before a vast mirror, not one that reflects your face, but one that reflects a feeling you've carried your whole life. If I love enough, everything will heal. And then from behind the mirror, a voice emerges, gentle but firm. That's not love. That's the prayer of a wound. If that sentence made your chest tighten, don't look away. You've just touched the first door of the unconscious, the realm where the stories we live are the symbols we've never dared to name. Today, I'm not here to tell you who's good or bad. I'm here to offer a map. Jung called it the path toward wholeness, individuation, the journey back to the deeper self, where light doesn't shine to impress, but to illuminate. Why do empaths often get pulled into the orbit of narcissists? And why is it so painfully hard to break free? Not because you are weak, but because the unconscious of both souls is trying to mend something long exiled. You overgive because somewhere in your past, you learned that safety comes from calming someone else's storm. They wear a dazzling persona because beneath it lies a hollow, trembling with fear. When that mask meets a heart that feels deeply, the two halves seem to click. But it's the click of wounds, not of souls. To help you navigate this symbolic terrain, let me offer some guiding threads. When I say shadow, I mean the traits you exiled just to be loved, your righteous anger, your raw desire, your voice that once said no. Persona is the social mask, the nice girl, the savior, the endlessly patient one. Projection is what we place onto others, both our light and our darkness, when we can't yet own them within. And trauma bond is the emotional hook created by the unpredictable dance of reward and punishment, training your nervous system to cling to hope. These words aren't for blame, they are here to return the power of naming your experience. Because when we name something, we begin to transform it. If you're an American listening to this, you might have been taught to be nice, to understand, to always give. But kindness without boundaries breeds resentment, and forgiveness without truth isn't peace. Imagine you're in a room dark enough that everything turns into metaphor. In front of you are two chairs, one for the wounded healer, the other for the armored child. When they meet, the story doesn't begin with logic. It begins with an ancient summons from the unconscious, make me whole. In Jung's vocabulary, this encounter is a collision between persona and shadow, between what we perform for the world and what we hide from ourselves. The empath carries a secret spring of compassion ready to flow into other people's cracks. The narcissist wears a polished mask buffed by the need to survive, protecting an unnamed emptiness. They recognize each other like two puzzle pieces. What they're really recognizing is their own wound reflected in the other. Don't rush to label. Narcissism isn't just a diagnosis. Across the wide spectrum of being human, some people carry mild narcissistic traits, craving attention, seeking recognition, sometimes self-centering, while others show clinical extremes where a swollen persona defends against a fragile core. Here, we're speaking about archetypal dynamics, not passing judgment. The aim isn't to condemn, it's to see through the fog so you can guard your soul. On Jung's map, empaths bleed at one-point boundaries. Long ago in childhood, you may have learned that love arrives when you're agreeable, helpful, the storm calmer for others. You mislabeled self-erasure as kindness. Meanwhile, the narcissist built a fortress of persona, charming, talented, generous, and is often gifted at reading your deepest longings. When these two structures touch, a gravitational pull forms. You pour life. They pour reflection. You sense the child behind the mask. They sense your endless emotional milk. This isn't soul union. It's a fit between two shortages. Let me give you two very American, very everyday scenes. Scene 1, Maya, 31, works in media, first coffee with Ethan. He talks about twin souls. Mirrors back the exact phrases Maya uses to describe her dreams. He remembers tiny details. Her cat's name, the way her eyes light up when she talks about writing. 2 hours pass, and Maya feels strangely seen. He suggests a Joshua Tree weekend next week fast, but it feels right. Scene 2, a month later, Ethan starts showing up late without notice. When Maya gently names a boundary, he sighs. You're too sensitive. I've been way too busy to manage every little thing. Maya, afraid of being a burden, apologizes. That night, she lies awake waiting for an apology text. It doesn't come. Morning, a voice note. I love you so much, in a bouquet delivered to her office. Maya melts, and the cycle repeats. Viewed through a Jungian lens, what shows up here? First, the seductive persona, rapid understanding that it can simply be a mirroring technique, reflecting your ideals to gain access. Next, the boundary test, small, subtle, repeated. Then the soft gaslighting, you're too sensitive, that makes you distrust your own intuition. Finally, intermittent reinforcement, unpredictable affection that spikes dopamine and trains your nervous system to get addicted to hope. This isn't you being weak. It's conditioned biology playing out in an unconscious script. Now back to the empath. In your shadow, there are often exiled parts. Rightful anger, the desire to be chosen, the voice that says no. When these qualities are locked away, you'll look for someone to carry that energy for you. The narcissist, by survival instinct, steps into the roles of the decisive one, the leader, the sure voice. But that's borrowed power, not inner marriage. The conjunctio, the sacred union Jung describes, happens when your inner supportive and receptive principles begin to speak and sign a truce. Until then, it's easy to mistake someone else's borrowed decisiveness for destiny. Ask yourself, where does my kindness end and my self-erasure begin? Which part of me needs to come home so I stop outsourcing my backbone to someone else? When you bring those exiles back, love stops feeling like starvation and starts feeling like a meeting of equals. If the last chapter let us see the two figures on stage, the wounded healer and the armored child, then now we'll listen to the hum of gears. What keeps you stuck isn't only a promise. It's an invisible machine with 4 acts: blinding praise, quiet devaluation, bent memories, and unpredictable bait. In body-mind language, it's promised dopamine, stress, cortisol bonding, oxytocin, and a nervous system trained to wait for rewards like a person at a slot machine pulling the lever. Jung would say, we are called by what we have not reconciled. Neuroscience adds, we are trained by what repeats. Act 1 is the spotlight love bombing. It starts as fast as a meteor shower messages, as long as poems compliments aimed exactly where you ache to be seen. It feels like I've known you my whole life, they say. They want a future in week 1. On the surface, it's destiny. Underneath, it's high-speed bonding. Their persona mirrors your ideal image, and your nervous system fires dopamine because you feel chosen. Whether in Texas or in Brooklyn, the story is the same: a rooftop night with candles and wine, a vow that we're a team. In the hustle of American life, the feeling of being the priority is intoxicating. Remember, the speed of intimacy is a signal, not evidence. Act 2 arrives as 100 tiny blades devaluation. Not a punch, but 100 hairline cuts. You tell a story with spark, they check their phone. You set a boundary, they call it drama. In public, you get praise, but behind closed doors, brows furrow. Picture a Whole Foods parking lot. You say you were late because they were late, they sigh. You always make a big deal. You step back. Next time you don't bring it up. Soon you're walking on eggshells, forecasting moods to dodge the silent treatment. The righteous anger that should rise goes underground. It slips into shadow. A piece of the self goes quiet. Act 3 is sleight of hand gaslighting. No shouting required, only seeds of doubt. I never said that. You're remembering wrong. Your friends are a bad influence. You start rechecking texts, distrusting your memory, over-explaining your real meaning. Reality stretches like a funhouse mirror. Jung calls this the shadow of language, when words stop describing reality and start bending it. Your body sounds the alarm: dull headaches, restless sleep, food losing its taste. Your mind says, maybe I'm too sensitive. You choose silence to keep the peace. Each silence is a small cut to the soul. Act 4 is the generator, intermittent reinforcement. No more daily rose petal rain. Instead, sudden showers. A wild night after 3 cold days. And I've thought a lot apology bundled with a little trip, then disappearance again. Variable rewards are the strongest lure. The brain is addicted to the unpredictable. Each warm spark is a dopamine blast that makes you think, they finally get it, and 2 bad weeks vanish from view. When dopamine is poured into loneliness, the knot tightens. This is the trauma bond, not mature love, but a tension-reward-release loop. You're not dumb, you're inside an algorithm. To see it more clearly, add a lens attachment. If you lean anxious, their silence strikes an old terror of abandonment. You work harder to get back the early days. If you lean avoidant, you're pulled by the paradox. They give you intensity while letting you avoid real presence. When these two meet, the Cartman triangle spins fast. You rescue, they receive you. Burn out, they blame you. Apologize, they reward, and the play closes. No one is all bad. There are only roles we haven't learned to see. Here's a gentle truth, sharp as a thin blade. Not everyone can walk with you to the shore of truth. For the narcissist, change isn't just hard. It feels like staring into a black hole. Beneath the glittering persona lies an emptiness never faced. If the mask comes off, that emptiness rushes in like cold air from the underworld. So they choose control over feeling bending reality instead of looking into the mirror. This doesn't make them a monster. It reveals a defense that has calcified. And what is petrified fears cracking. The question then is not, how do I change them? But what does my soul need so it doesn't get pulled into the vortex? When an empath stays, it's not because you don't know pain. You do. Your body has spoken through sleepless nights, a stomach that knots when you say yes, and the hollow quiet after apologies that flare and fade. You stay for a tender, heartbreaking faith. If I love enough, the wound will close. But love is not an endless transfusion for someone who refuses to bandage themselves. Mature love walks with two people, one who feels and one who takes responsibility. Here you are doing both. That is a soul's martyrdom. You hoist yourself onto the cross of hope. Jung would remind us in every counterfeit sacrifice, there's a call to return to the self, to the place where compassion begins with you. Picture an ordinary Friday. The kitchen smells like lasagna. The cat is asleep on the chair. They get home late. They look at you, big smile, red roses, a sincere apology. You melt like early snow. But late that night, when you speak of a week of loneliness, their eyes slide away. Suddenly, you're too sensitive, ungrateful for the good things they do. You go quiet so you won't ruin the evening. Morning comes. You wake early to clean the kitchen. You smile, you hang a thread-thin prayer on your heart. Next week will be different. Where are you in this frame? Flowers on the table, a cross in the heart, and on your lips, a promise made to an illusion. If kids or money are entangled, the picture gets messier. In Minneapolis, a mother of two with bruised, circled eyes says she can't disappear because of pickup schedules, joint accounts, a lease with both names. In Miami, a young bartender hides cash tips because the family account is always drained. In Boston, a grad student stays in a tiny room for fear of losing a deposit. In these mazes, you're not weak. You're planning an exit in a house full of false doors. So what does a safety ritual look like when you step off the stage? First, slip off the wreath of guilt. Leaving is not betrayal. Leaving is a resurrection. You're not abandoning someone to dia. You're withdrawing your soul from a pact that keeps you both from growing. Forgiveness, if it comes, arrives like a breeze after rain, not as a forced slogan. Now it's about practical, humble work. Small steps steady. You don't have to break the door. You just need the key. Begin with a promise to your body, Ashinam. I will choose safety first. Safety isn't cinematic. It's the boring details that save lives. Back up important documents, snap photos of contracts, change email passwords, enable two-factor authentication, open a small account in your name, and move essential items out slowly on ordinary days as if nothing's happening. Call one trusted friend not to vent, but to ask them to hold a spare set of keys. Find a temporary spot, even a small room, a warm couch, or a short homestay. Write 3 short boundary sentences, clean and tangle-free. I won't argue when someone raises their voice. I'll leave the call if I'm insulted. I'll discuss co-parenting by email only. These are not magic spells. They're chalk lines that keep you from falling back into someone else's novel. What if they're truly sorry, you ask? Real remorse speaks in rhythm, not vows. Rhythm means showing up for therapy for months, taking concrete responsibility, honoring boundaries even when no one's watching, being consistent to the point of boring. Everything else, boom and bust, is fireworks, bright, hot, fast, and the next night, only smoke. There will be afternoons when you soften. That's human. Your brain will play a highlight reel. The smile, the trip, the way their hair smelled after rain. When that happens, don't call name. Name the feeling, loneliness, longing, fear of missing out. Name the loop, praise, withdrawal, reward. Silence. Name the body tight, chest heavy, shoulders, quick, heart. Name it, then breathe 10 slow breaths, feet on the ground, eyes counting 4 objects in the room. Don't philosophize your nostalgia. Let it pass like wind. Write a letter you won't send. I'm no longer a supporting actor in your play. I'm taking my rightful role keeper of the fire at the center. Fold the letter, slip it under a stone, and walk 3 laps around your block like a small rite of release. And if you're in danger control threat stalking, remember no one gets to use your safety as a moral lesson. Choose the path that protects your life, your children, your papers. Ask local experts how to plan a departure. Couples therapy is sometimes unsafe in abusive dynamics. We don't redeem violence with poetry. We save ourselves with reality. In Jung's language, all of this is a rite of embodiment, stepping out of the wrong myth to return to the right one, individuation moving from scattered to whole. And then something numinous happens. When you stand inside your own circle, the old narcissist may return as a trial shadow. They might wear a new robe, spiritual way talk, refined apologies. Don't watch the costume, watch the rhythm. Don't listen to the script, listen to your body. Your body is the priest of truth. In the next part, we'll descend to the underworld safely, how to speak with the shadow without being devoured, how to use active imagination to meet the huntress and the queen, 2 archetypes that guard boundaries, and the small daily rites of being soft yet firm. You'll get a 7-day toolkit pulling back projections, boundary breathing, the 3-line script, a 4-corner mandala body heart, mind soul. You'll also learn 10 signs of recovery, like little stars returning after a storm. If an image is rising in you, a flame in a mirror, a ferry across a river, bring it. The path continues and you are not walking it alone. When an old chapter closes, the first silence feels strange. You've stepped off the old stage, but the room inside you still echoes. This is when the descent begins, not to swallow you, but to help you meet what was exiled and bring it home. Jung would smile and remind us we don't become whole by piling on more light, but by befriending the dark. So how do we go down into the unconscious with a safety line tied at the waist? There's no magic fix, only small, steady rituals where body, heart, and symbol light a lamp together. Start with the body, the temple that speaks before your mouth finds words. Each morning before your phone plays, bare feet on the floor. Inhale through the nose, sigh out through the mouth. Open your eyes and name 5 things you see, 4 sounds. You hear 3 sensations on your skin, 2 scents in the air, and 1 honest sentence you're willing to say today. This orientation pulls you back from the riptides of memory. When your heart races at the sight of an old message, stack 1 hand on chest, 1 on belly, and breathe 4 to 6 inhale, 4 exhale, 6 for 2 minutes. That's boundary breath, each longer. Exhale tells your nervous system, I'm not on a battlefield. Don't overthink it. Come back to being a person living in a body. When the rhythm settles, open your notebook. Rapid fire 3 lines, no edits, no explanations, as if answering a confessor of the soul. What did I expect from that person today? What part of myself did I abandon to keep the peace? What is true for me, even if someone doesn't like it? This is a projection recall journal. You're turning your gaze from the mirror back to the center. Gina in Portland wrote, I expected him to remember our date. I skipped lunch to wait. What's true is I deserve a respected appointment. By line 3, you may feel a transparent spine standing up inside you. No anger needed, just uprightness. What truth are you ready to name today? Now Jung's beloved practice, active imagination. Sit still, close your eyes, and invite the archetype you need today. Perhaps the huntress, the boundary keeper. Perhaps the queen, the self-possessed ruler who can empower and say no without fearing you'll be disliked. Don't make it up. Let the image come. When someone steps into your inner room, ask 3 questions. How have you been trying to protect me? What do you want me to practice in the next 24 hours? Give me a symbol to remember you by. Laura in Denver saw a woman with hair in a bun and a leather jacket. She nodded. I kept you quiet when you were belittled to dodge the storm. But now you need to say, I will pause this conversation when I'm repeatedly interrupted. My symbol is a silver arrow. Laura opened her eyes and drew a tiny arrow on her inner wrist. Symbols aren't magic charms. They're promises you carry. Which archetype is knocking for you today? In week 1, create a living mandala, a circle with 4 quadrants, body, heart, mind, soul. Each day, place 1 small act in each corner. Body walk 12 minutes in the sun. Heart, call a close friend and say, I miss you. Mind, read 5 pages on boundaries. Soul, light a candle and breathe 4 to 6 in silence. This isn't a fussy checklist. It's an image of wholeness, a cake with all its slices, no longer pouring all the batter into people-pleasing. You'll need new language, simple, kind, and firm. Draft 3 boundary scripts. For calls, do I want to talk when we can both listen? I'll call back at time. For in-person, when voices get loud, I'll pause. For text, I don't feel okay with sarcasm. I'll respond when the tone is respectful. Practice out loud in the bathroom, stand tall, meet your own eyes. In Austin, Michael taped these lines to his mirror, beside a smooth river stone from the Colorado. Each time he touched the stone, he remembered sovereignty doesn't require long explanations. It requires a steady pulse. Which sentence will you practice today? To go deep without getting lost, clean up your tech. Disable social memories, filter emails from trigger addresses, and move old photos into a folder called Museum You Visit on Purpose. In Sacramento, a 25-year-old set her phone to grayscale after 9 p.m. The world less glossy, the mind less chaste. These aren't stoic punishments. They're how you tell your nervous system, I'm the one driving. Try this 7-day toolkit concrete enough to calm your brain. Days 1-2, orientation, the 3-line journal. Expectation, self-abandonment, truth. Days 3-4, active imagination with the huntress or queen. Choose one small ritual, a drawn arrow, a ring, you touch a short mantra in your wallet. Day 5, boundary breath. 4-6 + 3, slow no headphones loops around the block. Day 6, write 3 boundary scripts and read them aloud to a friend. Day 7, make your weekly mandala list, 4 things you did for body, heart, mind, soul, and pose 1 open question for the week. What will I protect? This won't promise miracle healing. It returns your hands to the wheel. Daily life will test you, the coworker who asks for a quick favor, the joking jab that stings, a family story that pricks like a thorn. Use your personal traffic light, green ease, yellow subtle discomfort, red tight contraction. On yellow, pause for 3 beats before replying. On red, let yourself step out, balcony breath. These small exits aren't rude. They keep a person in the room worth meeting you. And let's weave community around these rituals. In the comments, share 1 symbol from your active imagination, a dry leaf, a stone, a tiny sketch, 1 boundary sentence you'll try, and 1 action you placed in today's mandala. Your words anchor you, and somewhere someone else will feel less alone. This is how we turn YouTube into a kind hearth where each of us lays on a humble log and warmth rises. What symbol are you carrying today? As the path steepens, you'll meet the shadow, not a monster, but a child in the corner holding a box of anger, desire, and locked nose. Sit beside them. Ask, since when were you left here? How did you once save me? Tomorrow, what can I do to prove I won't abandon you again? In New Jersey, Priya heard her shadow whisper. At 10, I learned to swallow anger to keep peace. Tomorrow, say no to an extra shift. The next day, heart pounding, palms damp, she said, no thanks, my hours are full this week. No applause, no soundtrack, but a piece of soul came home. What no would welcome you back to your cell. There will be slip days. You'll text back during no contact, laugh, off a dinner slight, forget to breathe. Don't turn this into a sentence. Jung trusted rhythm, advance, retreat, repeat. Learn. Each slip is a chance to watch the gears turn and write 1 new line into your script. Self-forgiveness isn't a cover-up. It keeps your heart from turning to stone. If you slip today, what did you learn about your next right line? Then something quiet appears. You no longer need dramatic spikes to feel alive. You smile at a just right hot coffee, a clear morning sky, a polite on-time email. You check your phone less. You sleep deeper. You say no without writing an essay. That's sovereignty arriving, not loud, not flag-waving, just a steady warmth, a soft light at the edge of the day. Next, we'll cross into integration, turning these rituals into a durable cadence. Noticing 10 gentle signs of recovery, like stars on your ceiling as you lie down. And the final exam, when the old shadow returns, what do you feel and hear in your body that proves you've changed? I'll give you a kind, concrete map, so growth isn't just a feeling, you can count it. If a symbol has formed in your heart, a silver arrow, a 4-cornered circle, a flame in a mirror, keep it like a stamp in your passport. We're about to cross a new border. There's a morning coming that looks utterly ordinary, no soundtrack, no fireworks, just sunlight slipping through the kitchen blinds and the smell of first-day coffee. You open your eyes and there's no name on your door screen, And the small surprise is this: your heart is steady. This is integration arriving, the quiet knitting together of the rituals you've been practicing. Jung might say the self doesn't enter with thunder. It arrives as a steady warmth. Sovereignty isn't a battle cry. It's the way you pour milkwash a cup, answer emails on time, and say no as a healthy habit. Integration isn't, I'm perfect now. It's, I'm consistent enough to trust myself. One simple mirror for the inner life is 10 stars, 10 glimmers of recovery on the ceiling of your psyche. You sleep deeper and wake without lunging for your phone. You stop writing mini legal briefs after conflict. You can let a conversation pause without chasing a conclusion. You say no without guilt. You don't use jealousy as proof of love. Your body relaxes in spaces that used to make it shrink. You hand responsibility back to the person who caused harm. You glance at old photos and feel a light exhale instead of a spiral. You make weekly room for the four corners of your mandala: body, heart, mind, soul. And one day you text yourself a short note. We've come far. These are not moral report cards. They're signals that your nervous system trusts the steady rhythm again. Every process has evening clouds, early warnings of relapse. You turn notifications back on at midnight, eyes glued to the 3 bouncing dots. You start idealizing the past, scrubbing away the silent days. You shave your boundaries just to keep the peace, then shave a little more. You call yourself too picky. You quietly pull away from friends to hide your confusion. When one of those clouds drifts over, don't condemn, just name it and return to your ritual. A 4-6 breath, a short walk, 3 lines of journaling. Integration isn't a straight line. It's a tide, ebb and flow feeding the shore. So how do you carry this bright boundary into ordinary American life? At the Costco checkout, someone nudges you to hurry. Do you smile and keep your rhythm? At elementary school pickup, a parent throws a snide remark. Do you inhale and choose silence or reply with even tone? On Zoom, a coworker cuts in. Do you say, let me finish this thought with a steady voice? Integration is breathing your boundary into the everyday sentence, making room for truth in the air. If you're ready to open your heart, there's a dating threshold too. Not a formula, but a 30-60-90 rhythm that keeps your nervous system from being pulled back into a whirlpool. In the first 30 days, go slowly. Meet regularly but not excessively. Track the match between words and actions. After each date, note your body's signal: green, yellow, red. And keep your life intact friends, habits sleep. Sooner or later, the final exam knocks like a figure at your porch at dusk. An old person returns, or a new face with the same old script, now spoken in a subtler language, maybe spiritual, maybe accountability on their lips. Jung would warn, don't read the robe, read the rhythm. You don't have to prosecute their flaws, just listen with your body. If your body opens, breath deepens. Eyes brighten, notice. If your body contracts, neck stiffens. Vision dulls, notice. The body doesn't lie, let it vote first. If you slip, return to the breath. No exam has only one submission. As sovereignty takes on flesh, a new gentleness appears, the gentleness of someone who doesn't need to prove they're kind or powerful. You can say no and still love. You can leave without hate. You start attracting people with your frequency: low drama, on time, warmly direct. Empath is no longer a sacrificial role. It's a refined sense placed in service of the self. And the narcissist state is no longer the enemy, but the strict teacher who showed you where the line had to be drawn bold. The lesson ends when you stop re-enrolling in the old class. Community is the bridge at this stage. No one heals in isolation. Let the comments become a shared field notebook. Name 1 recovery star. You just noticed slept 6 hours straight, said no to an extra shift without guilt. Let the conversation end when mocked, and leave a plain, boring blessing of peace for a stranger. If you feel safe, share a tiny rescue move for tender days, a 10-minute warm shower, the scent of orange, rubbing your heel on the rug, sitting still, to watch a single leaf tremble at the window. In a loud world, small rituals are a choir of survival. Here's a real-life split screen. In San Diego, Hannah, 35, enjoys a new date, kind, punctual, attentive. Her stomach still flutters when texts arrive slowly. Instead of rushing into an embrace, she places a hand over her heart and whispers, slow as a rhythm too. She keeps Saturdays for friends. He agrees, then asks if they can cook at her place next week. She smiles, thanks him, and says next week. No crescendo, no vows, just a steady tempo. Across the map, Eli 29 gets a message from an ex. I've changed. He breathes, remembers, watch the rhythm, not the oath, and replies, peace to you. Keep going with therapy. I'll keep my distance. He isn't a saint. He's choosing a shore. Try a simple kindness meter so your progress isn't just a feeling. Every Sunday, rate 0 to 10 on 5 dials. Sleep depth, body contracted, open, communication, concise, respectful, boundaries, ratio of no. You said, community, nourishing connections. Then add 3 lines, one thing you are proud of, one place you slipped, one tiny step for the coming week. After 4 weeks, look at the graph. The waves are less steep. This isn't a KPI to brag about. It's a compass for the heart. And to land this together, leave 1 line below so the community can hold you. And next week, what will I protect? Write it down, even if it's small sleep. Lunch. 30 minutes of reading one no in a meeting. The ordinary done steadily is what saves a soul from the storm. At a very still sunset, the lake lies flat like a mirror that has stopped reflecting old faces. In the middle of the water, only a small flame remains, not loud, not pleading, standing firm like a truth. If you've come this far with me, know that flame is you, the part that cannot be bought off by drama and is no longer steered by heat of the moment promises. We have walked through dark rooms, named the gears of the unconscious, and learned to descend into the underworld with a safety line tied at the waist. Now it's time to return to the ground with a small vow, humble, yet strong enough to brace your spine. I will no longer abandon myself just to be allowed to stay. Jung reminds us you don't grow bright by chasing light, but by befriending the dark. You did that through 4 to 6 breathing, 3-line journaling, and a few sacred no's. Then a plain miracle happens. You no longer need a climax to prove you're alive. You recognize real life, a life with a backbone, looks like pouring milk without spilling, replying to an email on time, closing your phone at 10 p.m., keeping a 12-minute walk with yourself. Sovereignty, it turns out, isn't a proud tower. It's a sturdy awning where the rain can drum and you remain dry. Before we close, I want to hand you a tiny ritual light as a palm over your heart, clear as a chalk line. Stand tall, breathe out long, and slowly say these 3 sentences in your own way. 1, I acknowledge my sadness and my longing, and I choose a steady rhythm. 2, within the next 24 hours, I will say one sacred number. 3, today I will tend one quadrant of the mandala, body, heart, mind, or soul. These 3 short lines are a doorway. Beyond it, there are no fireworks, only a garden you can tend every day. To anchor this journey so the video marks your inner map like a milepost, there are 4 pieces. 1, the gentle audit. Every Sunday night, score 0 to 10 in 5 areas. Deep sleep, body sense tight open, communication brief respectful, boundaries ratio of no's said, community count of nourishing connections. Then write 3 lines. Proud slip a small step next week. After 4 weeks, you'll notice the waves are less steep. 2, soft warnings. When you catch yourself toggling notifications at midnight, idealizing the past, lowering boundaries to keep the peace, accusing yourself of being too much or quietly drifting from friends, pause, name it. Do the 4-6 breath, write 3 lines, take 1 loop around the block. Don't indict, return to rhythm. 3, safety is real. If there's financial control, isolation of threats or violence, this is no longer a beautiful lesson. Prioritize a safe exit plan, documents, passwords, a temporary place, trusted people, local professionals. Do not therapize violence. No one deserves to be hurt to grow. 4, the gentle pledge. For the next 7 days, practice a living mandala each day. Body, heart, mind, soul, try 1 sacred. No, and choose a small symbol, a stone, a leaf, or a silver arrow sketched on your wrist to remind you of sovereignty. If you'd like, say so in the comments. I'll prepare a printable 7-day toolkit for the whole community. Now, a soft invitation. I want to hear you. Leave 3 things below a 1 sign of recovery you just touched. For example, I slept 6 hours straight. B, 1 boundary you'll voice this week. If I'm interrupted, I'll end the conversation. C, the symbol you choose for this path, name or emoji. Writing it down doesn't just anchor you. It lays a small log on our common fire so someone in another city can warm their hands. If this video touched you, hit subscribe and the bell, not to chase every clip, but so that when you need a steady rhythm, you know the way back. And if you have a friend lost inside an empty mirror, send them this as a gentle reminder. Boring peace is also a kind of miracle. Before we part, let me leave you with one last image, a small talisman for your pocket. Picture a dark field after rain. Far off stands the old castle, the place where you once kept night watch for promises that never arrived. You turn away, carrying nothing but the warmth in your chest. No need to prove, no need to explain. Each step is a point of light. The road appears beneath the feet of the one who dares to walk. And in that quiet, a whisper rises not from me, not from anyone else, but from the deepest part of you. I choose the steady rhythm. If that line warms your heart by half a degree, write it below as the seal of a soul returned home. Next time, we'll take one more subtle turn dialogue with the shadow through active imagination and crown the queen/huntress, two archetypes that will hold your boundaries with warmth, not ice. We'll also open a minimalist 30, 60, 90-day dating map so your heart can re-enter the world without losing its rhythm. If you want that, type circle in the comments so I know you're walking with me. Thank you for traveling with me. If you ever doubt you're small, remember you went through an underworld and brought back language for the quiet parts of your life. That's not a noisy feat. That's a true dawn. See you in the next video when we light another flame, not to burn, but to warm.